Hey, true crime fanatics, this is Claire.
And I'm Andy.
You're tuned in to the Homicide Hobbies podcast, which is a podcast for people who love to hear about the horrendous crimes that people commit. Enjoy. So, where are we going?
So today's case is a twofer.
It's about teeth.
No, you get a 2-for-1.
Oh, a BOGO.
Yeah. The first state we'll be in prohibits playing, quote, any game of sport with a ball on public sidewalks. A violation carries a potential fine of up to $1,000 or 6 months in jail.
California.
Oh, you son bitch. You Googled it.
No, I was thinking, where's a place that's... You know what? Actually, my logic didn't make sense.
Well, let's hear it.
No, because I don't want that out there. I already have enough enemies.
Well, my other two hints for California were a county in this state is the largest county in America by land area. It has over 20,000 square miles.
Sheesh.
Yeah. And then the state also holds the record for the hottest air temperature on Earth at 134 degrees in 1913 at Furnace Creek in Death Valley.
That makes me want to guess Arizona.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was trying to steer you that way. I thought you'd guess Texas because it's the largest county. I thought you'd go with a large state.
You should have done that one first.
Should have. But yes, the first state we'll be in is California. The second state we'll be in has more mountain ranges than any other state. Over 300 ranges and dozens of peaks over 10,000 feet.
Idaho?
No.
Washington.
This state is named after the Spanish word for snowy peaks.
Montana?
Roughly 87% of the state's land is federally owned or tribally owned.
I have no idea.
State number 2 is Nevada.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised they have that many peaks.
Yeah.
I know they've got some skiing.
Yeah. If I think of Nevada as being very flat.
That's because parts are. And dusty.
Yeah. Well, today's story spans 2 brutal love triangle murders connected by one woman, Devyn Michaels. First, a celebrity hairstylist gets stabbed to death. Years later, a father gets decapitated in his mother's house. And Devyn's relationships don't just end badly, they end with life sentences. By the end, your family group chat will feel like therapy. In the morning of August 7th, 2023, in Henderson, Nevada, just outside of Las Vegas, a woman named Yoko wakes up in the home that she's lived in for almost 3 decades, a house where her adult son, 46-year-old Johnathan Willette,
it's time for him to move out.
He lives downstairs while she and her long-term boyfriend live upstairs. Johnathan had been drinking more than usual lately, and there had been tension in the house about money and about his on-again, off-again relationship with the mother of his children. This particular morning, Yoko expected to find Johnathan sleeping in, maybe hungover from the night before. When she walks downstairs that morning, a series of small, unsettling details starts to register one by one in a way that no mother should ever experience. Johnathan's truck was still parked outside, which immediately strikes her as wrong. His ass should have been at work.
His ass should have his own house.
The family dogs are locked outside in the yard and they're barking frantically, but the little doggy door that they usually slip through is inexplicably locked.
Poor little things.
A computer chair sits overturned near the garage, and the garage door itself hangs only halfway open. It was frozen midway as if someone had second thoughts about making a clean getaway. Yoko walks into her son's bedroom, annoyed at the condition she's finding her home, expecting to see her very much grown son nursing the world's worst hangover. Instead, what she finds is something that defies immediate comprehension. Yoko first notices a strong stench of chemicals as she sees Johnathan lying across his bed. He was cocooned in blankets, his feet sticking out at the bottom. For one brief moment, her brain convinces her he's just passed out from yet another night of heavy drinking. But as she moves closer to what should be the head of the bed, she realizes something horrible, something impossible. There's blood where there's no business in being blood. There's also no head on her son.
You really like these ones.
Then the smell, she originally paid no real attention to, hits her next. It's harsh, chemical stench of bleach and ammonia so thick it burns her eyes and her throat.
Ew. That mixture's dangerous anyway.
It is. Her son had been mutilated and burned with chemicals right there in the bedroom where he'd slept every night.
That's terrifying.
It is. Especially because her and her boyfriend were upstairs.
That's what I'm saying is terrifying. Like, they didn't hear anything. She could have been of help.
Yoko does what any mother would do in a blind panic. She runs back upstairs and calls 911, barely able to form words through the shock of what she'd just seen in her own home.
Where's his head?
I'm not answering any questions. The man Yoko found dead in that bed was, like I said, Johnathan. He's 46 years old, he's a father, and his entire world revolved around his 2 young daughters. They were 7 and 9 at the time of his murder. Those little girls were the absolute center of his universe, but his long-term relationship with their mother had been nothing short of a roller coaster from hell. Constant cycles of intense conflict followed by reconciliations. Ugly breakups followed by getting back together. This was a toxic rinse and repeat cycle that had gone on for years. To understand exactly how a family reaches this kind of horrifying moment, we have to step back several steps and meet the 3 adults whose twisted relationships created this perfect storm of tragedy. We'll rewind back in this story to a woman named Devyn Michaels. Her story for us begins when she's in her 30s, working as an adult film star under the name Tracy Travers and Nikki Fairchild.
It's not very good porn names.
Like I said, we're going backwards before she's met Johnathan. She's married to a man named Robert Baker, and they got married somewhere around 2010. Their marriage, pure toxicity. Screaming matches, police calls, followed by, "I'm sorry," and "I love you," and passionate makeups. They had the kind of relationship everyone knows should end, but no one ever ends it. I'm going to proceed with telling this case in a way that drives you bonkers, Claire. I debated on making it a 2-parter, but instead I decided to tell it in some sort of timeline order where we bounce from person to person, like one of them Quentin Tarantino movies.
Everybody's gonna die.
Pretty much. But our plot, our main focus is going to be on Devyn's relationship patterns. So that's your main focus, and eventually it's all going to tie together. So around 2013, she'd been in a toxic marriage to Robert for roughly 3 years. And since having a husband and working as a porn star isn't enough dick for Devyn, she piles onto that and starts dating a new feller, the guy from the beginning, Johnathan Willette. Johnathan is from Nevada. Their relationship, much like her marriage to Robert, immediately turns volatile. Lots of fights, lots of breakups, followed by lots of passionate reconciliations. And if you ask yourself, what can I do to make this here toxic relationship even more toxic?
Have children.
Exactly, because all those reconciliations with Johnathan, or Robert, surprise, surprise, they result in a daughter being born in 2014.
Did she end up going on disability?
Either that or she narrowed in her fan base with those that have pregnancy kinks.
Is that not child endangerment, or is it not considered child endangerment until it's a child?
The penis can't actually touch the baby's head, Claire.
No, but I would think that engaging in multiple sex partner act things would put you at risk of some sort of infection that could potentially cause issues with a child, thus putting them in some sort of a danger.
I don't do porn, nor have I ever done porn, but I would assume that they're tested for STDs and all the things. But I don't know. I'll let you look that one up.
I don't know either. Maybe you want snakes in there. I would think that if you're playing musical chairs with your genitals, anything is possible.
So at some point in 2015, Robert and Devyn's marriage finally implodes. I don't know if it's the fact that she's got a kid with someone else, but they finally get divorced. And this is where we're going to go Quentin Tarantino on the story and see what newly single life brings these now exes. Devyn, she's now single and continuing to juggle all her balls, Johnathan and her backbreaking work in adult films.
I see what you're doing there. Cut it out. Get to the point.
It was a real hard schedule to swallow, but somehow Devyn managed.
What other phallic metaphors shall you use?
Put a pin or a butt plug in Devyn, and let's check in on Robert in California.
You have been sick a real long time.
It was for you, Claire.
It was for Devyn.
Her now ex-husband, Robert, freshly divorced and cranky as hell, begins his own secret affair with a woman named Monica Semintelli. She's the wife of successful LA hairstylist Fabio Semintelli.
That's what this story was missing, a Fabio.
Robert and Monica, These two don't just cheat. In between extramarital sexual escapades, Monica and Robert begin fantasizing about getting their grubby hands on Fabio's $1.6 million life insurance policy, plus all the marital assets. So that's what Robert's doing. He's over with Monica, fantasizing about her husband magically dying. Now we're going to pop back over to Nevada to check in on Devyn. And Devyn's chaos off in Las Vegas also escalates. Her on again, off again relationship with Johnathan produces a second daughter born in 2016.
Because what makes a relationship that's already shitty, but even better?
Johnathan and Devyn's relationship wasn't just volatile, it had become transactional at times. With Devyn, she essentially prostituted herself to her baby daddy. She would have sex with him in exchange for him paying bills and helping her financially.
Isn't that just called marriage? I'm just kidding. It's working as a team. I do for you, you do for me. Here's this paper. I believe they call that marital duties. Did they get married, or they were just dating and squeezing out children?
They're just dating and squeezing out children.
So as Judge Judy would say, you're pretending to be married.
Their relationship is just as tumultuous as ever. They're on again, off again so frequently, and Johnathan absolutely adores his girls. They end up in a
butternut squash pie.
Sure don't. They end up in a bitter custody battle because he's afraid of her taking the girls and him not being able to see them.
I'd be more worried they'd follow in their mother's footsteps.
Right?
Can you imagine take your daughter to work day?
No? So she's in a custody battle with Johnathan. We're going to pop back over to California. It's January 9th, 2017. Fabio Semintelli's 16-year-old daughter comes home and finds her father brutally stabbed to death on their Woodland Hills patio. Robert Baker, Devyn's ex, had slipped through a conveniently unlocked gate where he waited for Fabio to come out onto the patio. Robert pulls out a hunting knife and stabs Fabio 7 times, targeting his arteries, and Fabio bleeds out.
That's awful.
Robert continues to carry out the rest of his plan he and Monica had devised. Robert steals Fabio's Porsche, ditches it 5 miles away. Side note, and not part of the plan, Robert leaves his own DNA behind. Meanwhile, Monica is carrying out her side of this genius plan and fakes a shopping trip to Target, giving her an alibi. This world-class gem of a mother let her 16-year-old daughter come home to find a staged burglary and the murdered, bloodied body of her dad, Fabio.
That's so awful.
It's so bad.
For both the mom that finds her son and then the girl to find her dad is just
brutal.
Yeah.
Well, at first glance, the scene did in fact look like a classic home invasion gone tragically wrong, a random violent act against a successful businessman. But as investigators dug deeper, they uncovered the affair between Fabio's wife Monica and Robert, Devyn's ex-husband. Police and prosecutors pieced together a chilling narrative. Monica and Robert had meticulously planned Fabio's murder so they could finally be together openly while cashing in on Fabio's substantial life insurance policies and marital assets. In the end, Robert Baker folded first. After sitting in prison for a tad over 6 years,
That's it?
He's waiting to go to trial.
Oh.
And he's just chilling because he didn't get bonded out. Robert pled no contest to first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and conspiracy to commit murder with special circumstances of murder for financial gain and murder while lying in wait. And that landed him life in prison without the possibility of parole in 2023. So when we talk about Devyn's ex-husband, Robert, we're not discussing some emotionally toxic partner who texts and calls harassing you. We're talking about a man who literally stabbed his lover's husband to death in a textbook love triangle murder for money case. Monica was also arrested when Robert was, and she decides with Robert pleading no contest, she can claim she's a victim too, and she's going to continue to sit in prison to gamble with a jury trial. Put a pin in Monica's nonsense in California because she's going to sit there for an additional 2 years. So if you're doing that there, math, that's 8 years of her just chilling in prison, waiting to go to trial. I couldn't.
Well,
that would suck.
But is it on their own? Like they keep doing the whole delay nonsense to wait it out? Because I thought the whole right to a speedy trial.
Oh, you can waive that, which I'm guessing they did.
Clearly.
But we're going to hop back over to Nevada and check on the poor life choices of Devyn. Devyn is still having sex with Johnathan in exchange for him paying the bills and helping her financially. They're also going back and forth with their custody battles over the girls, and it had become quite brutal. Devyn actually lost physical custody at one point, and their daughters lived with Johnathan and his mother Yoko from November of 2022 to May of 2023 before returning to Devyn's care in the spring of 2023. And I know that's a lot of dates, but really all you need to know is she knows she could lose her kids to Johnathan, so she's got to get her shit figured out. So you've got Robert, her ex, who's now, as of 2023, sitting in prison, life sentence. His lover still sitting in prison, waiting to go to trial. Meanwhile, she's in a custody battle, finally got her kids back in the spring of 2023. And by the summer, so a month or two later, a new arrangement was in the works. Johnathan and Devyn were going to make a go of things.
Ugh.
The plan, Johnathan would move out of his mother Yoko's house and back into Devyn's home so the whole family, mother, father, and daughters, could live together under one roof. Here's where this powder keg truly ignites. Johnathan had absolutely no idea Devyn had gotten married.
What?
Devyn had actually gotten married in 2021. And again, I realize I'm throwing dates out there, but it's 2023. She's been married.
Where's her husband?
She is living with her husband in this house Johnathan's about to move into for nearly 2 years.
He's not going to question what the weird roommate situation is.
And before you ask,
her husband's
she was
fine
in
with
fact
it?
She was in fact still living with her husband when Johnathan was supposed to be moving in with her. And as far as Johnathan knew, he was only heading back for a fresh start with the mother of his children and their 2 little girls.
That's so sad.
What he didn't realize, because if this isn't enough to make you go, what the hell is with this case?
Is that he forgot he fell in love with a porn star?
What he didn't realize is that he'd be moving into a house already occupied by a 29-year-old man named Devier. But Johnathan knew Devier.
What?
Devier was Johnathan's son from a previous relationship.
What? He didn't know his boy got married?
Sure didn't.
To his girlfriend?
To his baby mama.
And mother? That's real gross, Andrea.
Devyn's husband is Johnathan's 29-year-old son.
Hold on, I'm sitting here trying to figure out what this family tree, it's very circular. That makes the girls.
I've got that broken down.
Okay.
So
I appreciate you not letting me get a migraine over it.
So a reminder real quick of the ages. Johnathan's 46, Devyn's 47, and Devier is 29. If the math is making your brain constipated, Johnathan was around 16 or 17 when he became a father. To others who question the marriage, Devyn and Devier would say that it was a marriage of convenience, a purely practical arrangement for insurance coverage and to help with Devyn's medical issues. And I'm not sure what her medical issues were, but I do know at some point she had
my brain is still spiraling at her marrying her baby daddy's son.
Yeah.
Because, you know what? I feel like as long as he wasn't living in the bedroom, I don't feel like this poor feller would notice that, like, oh, that's real nice that you let my son move in here 2 years before me, but all right.
Right. So we have Johnathan, a father, moving in. He's thinking he's reclaiming his family, and his son is watching his dad prepare to move into his house with his wife.
But if it's for insurance, at least it's not a real marriage.
But here's the thing.
They're still having sex.
The wedding photos show a different story. Devyn and Devier passionately kissing like newlyweds, genuinely in love, and steamy romantic text messages stretch back years. Yeah. So it's not a marriage of convenience.
How old is he?
Who?
The son.
29.
Okay.
So Johnathan was like 16 or 17 when he had become a father to his 29-year-old boy. Somehow Devyn thought she was going to be able to manage both of these menfolk. Adding gasoline to this already explosive situation was the pre-existing strained relationship between Johnathan and his son, Devier. The father and son bond between them had always been rocky,
That's because they're dating the same people.
They never really got along, with years of tension and resentment simmering beneath the surface. Now, Devier was seething in silence, watching his dad plan to invade what he considered his territory.
This is so vile.
When I said it, it was like literally a Quentin Tarantino movie in the making. It really is.
No. I don't remember any Quentin Tarantino stuff being like incestuous, which is what this is teetering on.
So, you know those Facebook relationship statuses where people vaguely write, it's complicated?
No. You just encourage people to not use that.
In this particular family situation?
Only use it if you're dating if you're married to the son of your baby daddy.
Well, Devyn has 2 children with Johnathan, the dad, then legally marries Jonathan's son Devier, and now there's some sort of turf battle brewing over who actually gets to live in the house with her and raise the girls.
No, she just wanted the earlier edition.
This isn't even a simple triangle anymore. It's more like a family reunion that belongs on Jerry Springer.
For sure.
And now, if we West Virginia break down this family tree, Devier would be stepdad to his half-sisters, and that would make Johnathan be father and grandfather to his daughters. I can't see your face, and I know you can't see mine, but I'm guessing they're probably making the same.
I'm sitting here going, I guess, on a technicality, grandfather, but I feel like he would only ever be dad.
Yeah, but let's just say Devier becomes more of a father figure to the girls, and they call...
I would hope not. That's disgusting.
His half-sisters called him dad. Well, that would make Johnathan their grandfather.
No, I refuse. No, forbid it. What's with all this new age nonsense?
Well, here's where things get even more twisted, Claire. The relationship...
She's also his mother?
The relationship between Devyn and Devier had been sexual and emotional for a long time. I mean, a real long time.
Since he was 16?
Back when he was just around 19 years old, while Devyn was still romantically entangled with his father, Johnathan. And
she's still doing porn? 15 years later?
And while she was still married to Robert. So at one point, she's
juggling 3 fellers?
And
porn.
When she found out she was pregnant with the first little girl, she was having sex with all 3 of these men. Plus the porn.
This is a Jerry Springer special. Who is the father?
There's a lot of bakers adding their baby batter to that oven. And instead of Jerry Springer, they actually needed Maury to do a paternity test.
I think Jerry Springer did.
Did he?
I don't know.
Well, they needed Maury.
I haven't watched any of that trash since our school days in summer.
Well, it would appear there was never a paternity test done, but Johnathan was unaware that Devyn was having sex with his teenage son throughout their entire relationship.
I feel like if you're having a baby with a porn star, you should 100% verify it's yours.
Right? But Johnathan loved the little girls, and those were his babies, and he was their daddy, period. So I don't think he gave a shit. He loved them, and that
makes me curious, though, if she found somebody who would be dad to them, regardless of, because she knew he wanted, like the fellers who like want to be a dad so bad, they really don't care if it's their kid. They just want to be a dad.
Well, I have no idea, but she's fucking his son in the process, so.
She's got some problems.
She sure does. If you're like me and questioning how Devyn would ever justify Devier being at her house, like when Johnathan wasn't living there, Johnathan knew his son was staying occasionally at Devyn's house.
Just didn't realize in the same room.
Right. But it didn't seem abnormal to Johnathan because Devyn and Johnathan had been on again and off again for at least a decade. Yeah, placing Devyn as a teenager there, it just, like you said in the beginning of all of this nonsense, it just appeared to Johnathan like Devyn was a great, essentially stepmother to Devier and had no clue they were doing it.
Yeah, and I would think if you're dating somebody and having kids and doing all the things that a blended family, like the other step-parent-ish thing, would be building relationships with the other kid.
Right. And even though they were on again, off again, she continued to have a relationship, what he thought was.
But I would imagine that would probably be one of the values he liked about her, because here he's thinking that no matter if they're on again or off again, she still has that relationship, thinking it's a stepmom one.
Exactly. We're going to pause here for just a second because I know that Robert, Monica, and Fabio's story, followed by Devyn, Robert, Johnathan, and Devier's story, is a lot to absorb all at once. But that Semintelli case, where Robert murdered Fabio on January 23rd, 2017, they were both arrested 6 months later on June 14th, 2017. Robert pled no contest in July of 2023. Since I'm sure Fabio's murder was high profile and her ex, Devyn had to have seen the shit he pulled in the news. And at the same time, her ex is pleading guilty to no contest. Devyn is moving Johnathan into her house, well, into her and Devier's home. She didn't learn from her ex-husband's love triangle. And we're going to rewind just a little bit because I already told you in the beginning of the case where Yoko found Johnathan headless. We're going to rewind just a day before on August 6, 2023, and break down what led to the disaster. We're going to walk through exactly what unfolded based on witness statements, surveillance footage, GPS data, phone records, and what would later become the backbone of an entire investigation. So Devyn spends much of August 6th with Johnathan, and the two of them are taking their daughters back to school shopping like any other parents preparing for the new school year. Later that evening, around 8 o'clock, Devyn pulls up to Yoko's house where Johnathan was still living, he's still living downstairs. He's just getting all his crap packed up. And before you ask, I have no idea what they did with their girls. I hope they weren't in the same house where she murders their dad, but I don't know where they're at. But the group hangs out for a while. And then around 10:05 p.m., surveillance cameras at a nearby Chevron gas station clearly captured Devyn and Johnathan walking into the convenience store together, grabbing a few items, and then walking back out just a couple minutes later. Data pulled later from Jonathan's truck shows them returning to the house around 10:11 to 10:12 p.m. Yoko sees both Devyn and Johnathan there that night and later testifies that Johnathan seemed completely normal. He was not agitated. He wasn't acting strangely. He was just his usual self. Sometime after that, Yoko heads upstairs to go to bed herself, leaving Johnathan and Devyn downstairs in the main living area of the house. But around 1 o'clock in the morning, Yoko had come back downstairs for some reason, and she finds Devyn still awake and in the kitchen. Yoko specifically notices that Devyn looked genuinely startled to see her there, which I guess doesn't seem like a red flag. It's just nobody's supposed to be up at 1 o'clock in the morning, so when they run into each other.
Yeah, I wouldn't think too much of that because Dave startles me all the time.
Right. Well, your husband has stealth mode.
Well, it doesn't help that I have my noise-canceling headphones on, so when I get up to go pee, I just assume I won't meet anybody on the way to the bathroom, and then sometimes it's just like run into each other in the hallway, and I'm like, you're like I didn't go into kill mode.
Well, Devyn quickly explains that Johnathan got drunk and went to bed early, and Yoko also remembers Devyn trying to make 2 separate trips that night carrying dishes out of Jonathan's bedroom. So I guess she just figured since Johnathan was passed out that Devyn's just straightening up his bedroom. Which, what kind of pig? 2 separate trips bringing dishes out of his room? Around 2 in the morning, Yoko again wakes up and hears something that was strange. It was the family dogs barking frantically, and they were outside in the yard, combined with a loud thump that sounded like something heavy falling off a shelf or getting knocked over. Nothing too crazy, because if you leave your dog door open, you just assume the dogs heard something out back. They run out there, they're barking, and maybe if they're acting a fool, they knock something over. But most people just hear the noise, dismiss it, roll back over, and go back to sleep, which is exactly what Yoko does, completely unaware of the horror unfolding downstairs.
I guess I'm abnormal because if I hear a thud, I'm going to go, what the hell did you knock over, Nyla?
Right, but if you're half asleep and it doesn't sound like it was a crash, it just sounded like a chair getting knocked over. I don't know. I don't know. If it doesn't sound like a loud clatter and like a big disaster, I might just keep my ass in bed and be like, damn it, I'm going to be so tired tomorrow. My sleep is so broken.
You're going to go, fuck it, I'll deal with it tomorrow.
I probably would. And when Yoko finally comes back downstairs around 8 in the morning, every single one of those odd details suddenly snap into the horrifying focus as pieces of a much larger, much darker puzzle. That's when, I already told you, she finds her son headless. And when the Henderson Police Department detectives arrive at Yoko's house that morning, they walk into a crime scene that hit them from every single angle at once. physically grotesque, but also strangely deliberate and in a controlled way that immediately raises red flags. Johnathan's body lies positioned on his own bed with chemical smells so overpowering from bleach and ammonia that multiple officers describe it as genuinely toxic fumes that made their eyes burn and water. Johnathan's skin showed clear chemical burns alongside a distinctive diamond weave pattern that perfectly matched the mattress underneath him, proving beyond a reasonable doubt that whatever happened to him went down right there on that bed rather than him being killed elsewhere and moved. The lack of typical blood splatter patterns around the room becomes crucial immediately. Far less arterial spray than you'd expect from that kind of violent trauma, suggesting that whatever had severed his head happened methodically after he'd already stopped pumping blood, meaning he was decapitated after he was killed. No obvious murder weapons turn up anywhere that would match the injuries. There's no power tools, no oversized blades, though investigators note a butcher knife known to be in regular use in the house the day before. It's mysteriously vanished. Mm-hmm. From that very first moment, detectives asked the most basic question any investigators would start with. Who had access to Johnathan during those critical nighttime hours when everything went wrong? Every answer points squarely at Devyn. She spent the entire day with him school shopping. Cameras caught her with him at the gas station. Yoko saw her in the house acting strange in the middle of the night. But what transforms her from a person of interest to prime suspect is the discoveries made when investigators expand their search to Devyn's own home and her possessions. Johnathan's cell phone turns up with his actual blood smeared across the screen. His wallet, his driver's license, his truck keys, and his social security card all made their way into her underwear drawer, sealed inside multiple plastic bags tied with knots with her DNA
What the fuck?
on the bag, meaning her hands packaged and hid his most personal items and then tied the bag shut.
I'm surprised she has an underwear drawer.
No comment. Then there's digital evidence that seals the timeline with cold precision. GPS tracking data from Devyn's Nissan Armada cross-referenced with cell phone tower pings from both their phones, Johnathan's and Devyn's that is, show them traveling together along the exact same routes between her house and his mother's house during key windows. The Armada leaves the area of Johnathan's house at precisely 2:04 a.m. Surveillance footage captures Devyn alone at a CVS pharmacy around 2:28 a.m. and by 2:39 to 2:44 her vehicle pulls back into her own driveway. And before you question it, cell tower records confirm Devier's phone stays put at a fixed location during this entire time frame. It never pings anywhere near Johnathan's house, nor does it follow Devyn's travel pattern. From the moment Yoko heard those frantic dogs barking, combined with the heavy thump around 2 a.m., every person in that house is supposed to be asleep and settled for the night. But the cell phone records, GPS logs, and Yoko's own eyewitness account all confirm the exact opposite for one person, Devyn. She's the only one still moving through the dark house, going in and out of Johnathan's bedroom, carrying dishes, visibly startled when Yoko discovers her standing there, then loading up her SUV and driving off into the night. Alone. But the phones, the towers, the GPS data, all of it lines up consistently. I don't know why she took his phone with her. This pattern doesn't read like a coincidence or bad luck. Devyn places herself with Johnathan when he's last confirmed alive. Her car appears exactly where it needs to be when the timeline demands it. Her car departs precisely when the digital records show movement away from the house. Stepping back into the actual crime scene for a moment reveals something almost more disturbing than the mutilation itself. The unnatural, deliberate quality of how someone tried to erase it. There's no frantic struggle. There's no overturned furniture, no defensive wounds. Instead, someone poured industrial strength cleaners across the body and surfaces in what almost feels like a panicked attempt at erasing.
It's really weird to try to clean up anything.
I think it wasn't a matter of cleaning up. I think it was a matter of destroying DNA evidence.
Yeah, but I feel like why the bleach and the ammonia? Clearly, she's not a cleaner.
I'm guessing she ran out of one and used the other.
That would be like, those are your worst options.
She doesn't seem like she's the brightest.
Well, she didn't make her money with her brains.
Sure didn't. When detectives finally sit down with Devyn, for a formal questioning. Her narrative starts in one place entirely and morphs repeatedly as evidence chips away at it piece by piece. Initially, she claims she left Johnathan much earlier in the evening, around 9 o'clock.
What, and then he came back to him without a head?
No, she claims she didn't go back.
Well, then that's why she was startled in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Well, she claims that she left at 9 and he remained behind in the garage drinking and smoking, and she insists she had no idea what happened after her departure and flatly denied possessing his phone or any of his personal belongings. But as investigators are like, and they point out his blood smeared phone among her things, discovering his wallet, ID, truck keys, social security card, all sealed in a knotted bag with her DNA on the knots, meaning her hands tied those knots. And when they were like, what do you got to say about all that? Oh, but while you come up with that excuse, let's not forget the GPS cell tower records mapping out her midnight movements. Also, the video of her showing up at CVS. And eventually, Devyn admits that she did in fact strike Johnathan, though her various explanations shift depending on who's asking. Prosecutors later detail how Devyn described Johnathan laying stomach down on the bed while she gave him a back massage. I did laugh at that because none of the menfolk that listen to this are ever going to trust their significant others.
No, but like here they are, you're lulling them into a relaxation to take their head off. Oh, what do you need that knife for? Oh, no worries. Just rest your little head. Focus on the massage oil.
She said she's giving him a back rub, at which point she claims she stood up, walked over to the fireplace area or a shelf, grabbed some kind of club or stick, and smashed him in the back of the head while he lay there, completely vulnerable and unaware.
That's even crazier because they're quiet. You're not arguing. You're in like a state of relaxation. Because I don't know, when I rub Dave's back, it's also soothing for me because it's just like it's a quiet time.
Yeah, same.
I can't believe just going into a bout of rage and then like thumping him to death.
And then
taking his head.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to clean that up.
Well, she didn't. She just dumped chemicals everywhere.
That's true.
1 week after Yoko discovers her son's headless corpse, on August 15th, 2023, Devyn Michaels is arrested and charged with murder. In a separate interview, Devyn offers yet another version. She grabbed a wooden spoon and whacked him with it.
How big was the spoon?
Because he pressured her sexually, insisting...
Pressured her sexually? What?
Yeah.
Is that even possible for her?
Just because she's a hoe doesn't mean she can't say no. Anyway, insisting she never meant to kill him with that spoon, she just wanted to hurt him badly enough to require hospitalization so she could get him out of the way while figuring out the custody arrangements for their daughters.
Oh.
So I think she was trying to make it like he tried to sexually...
She was trying to get him out of the way?
Yes. I think she was going to claim that he tried to sexually assault her, was her original plan going into this, and maybe she clobbered him a bit harder than she intended.
So hard she smacked his head off.
Well, none of these shifting explanations come anywhere close to accounting for the chemical destruction of his body, the post-mortem mutilation, or how his most personal documents ended up in her underwear drawer. And
I also, I guess they looked everywhere, but who went straight to the undie drawer?
Somebody that knew she was a porn star. They probably made some sort of bet.
It was like, I was working.
Well, they probably...
Look what I found.
They probably made some sort of bet of whether there was any underwear actually in that drawer.
I'd have lost that bet. Actually, it could have meant to have been an underwear drawer. No one said there was underwear in it. What should have been an underwear drawer?
No. It was... His stuff was found among her underwear.
Fine. Well, then they don't mention a drawer.
Sure.
It was in her dirty undies.
Okay. Whatever helps you pay attention. Devyn refuses to address the mutilation itself, which I don't know how she managed that one, because when they're like, okay, so you clunked him on the head, who poured the chemicals and who took his head off? She's not going to talk about that. She also decided not to speculate on the location of his missing head or on the tools that are missing on what was used to decapitate him and mutilate him.
Don't tell me it wasn't his son that participated.
She also fails to provide any clean accounting for her activities during that crucial 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. death window. Her vague bullshit stories clash with every piece of digital evidence. To investigators and prosecutors building their case, this combination of consistently mutating stories, the physical evidence, literally tied by her own hands, corroborated by digital timelines and medical findings, paints an unmistakable picture. Devyn deliberately attacked Johnathan when the opportunity presented itself. Then she took the additional horrifying steps with his body afterwards, then desperately tried to clean and conceal evidence while crafting one BS explanation after another, with each lie crumbling under basic scrutiny. After a little over a year of sitting in prison, on September 17th, 2024, Devyn agreed to a plea deal where she would plead guilty to second-degree murder and a sentence of 15 years to life.
That's not very long.
15 years to life? No, not at all. Now, we're going to put a pin or plug in Devyn. Pop back over to California. Remember Robert who pled no contest?
Mm-hmm.
Well, his little partner in crime, Monica Semintelli's trial, began in January of 2025. Monica's defense called Robert to testify, and he said he acted completely alone. He killed Fabio for love, without her knowledge. He even wrote a fake confession letter to take the full blame, to try to save her. Prosecutors tore that story apart with text messages, GPS, and her suspiciously perfect Target alibi. The jury didn't buy any of her BS and returned with a guilty verdict on all charges: first-degree murder, conspiracy, and the special circumstances. And on April 11th, 2025, they returned with that guilty verdict on April 11th, 2025. And on June 23rd of 2025, Monica was sentenced to life without parole. Now, we're done with California. Monica and Robert are both sentenced to life. No parole. Keep your asses in there.
Mm-hmm.
After another year trickles by with Devyn sitting in prison, she decides to withdraw her plea agreement on July 17th, 2025. She decides to take a page out of Monica's book, and Devyn proclaims her innocence, sending the case forward to a jury trial on November 5th, 2025. Devyn's defense attorneys knew perfectly well how catastrophically all the evidence stacks against Devyn. So they pivot, and they pivot hard, to the only strategy left: to paint her not as a cold-blooded killer, but as a flawed, possibly manipulative woman, protecting her true love from consequences. They argue the entire investigation suffered from tunnel vision. They said detectives fixated on Devyn immediately and failed to properly pursue more logical suspects. The more logical suspect being Devyn. The son trapped smack in the middle of this romantic disaster. Defense lawyers produced several years of explicit messages, intimate wedding photos, and testimony establishing that Devyn and Devyn's relationship wasn't some last-minute insurance scam, but a full-blown sexual and emotional affair stretching back to when he was 19. They paint August 2023 as Devyn's breaking point. He was tired of sharing Devyn with his dad. Devyn simultaneously pushing him out of her house while inviting Johnathan to move in permanently. Text calling Devyn a liar and a cheater, and custody chaos threatening the family unit he'd helped build. From the defense perspective, Devyn faced total annihilation, losing his home, his wife, his makeshift family, all in one devastating blow, while his father would swoop in and claim everything Devyn had valued. They highlighted Devyn's rocky history with Johnathan, plus his job installing home theater systems, giving him ready access to power tools capable of the kind of dismemberment they'd seen on Johnathan's body. The defense tears into the supposed investigative sloppiness, the missing surveillance timestamps, no luminol chemical testing, the unsearched corners of the property. They rip into the holes in the investigation side of things.
I would hate to agree, but I would hate to agree but it is weird that you don't find the tool that did it.
Well, they stopped looking for it because if you figure Devyn is carrying those tools in his vehicle, if they never searched Devyn's vehicle to search for those tools, then they're never going to find them. They searched Devyn's house, and Devyn could have easily left his phone at home, creating a false stationary alibi while slipping out undetected. Yeah, his phone stayed at the house, but you don't know where he was.
True.
And then they also hammer Yoko because when she said she saw Devyn around 1 a.m., she saw no blood. There were no injuries on Devyn on any of the surveillance footage afterwards, arguing no petite woman could have managed such a messy dismemberment without visible traces.
That's offensive.
All right.
But anyway, yeah, but it could have been a case of maybe she was going into the kitchen because she was getting some oil because she was just about to start massaging him, and then they heard the thumping afterwards.
I don't know how you massage Dave, but don't use any kitchen oils.
Well, I was thinking that I started using the apricot kernel oil, and you can cook with that. You can do a lot of things, just kind of like with coconut oil. I mean, I've got that in the kitchen because I give it to the dogs, but you could use that as lotion as well. So, I mean, it's in the kitchen.
Do you have plastic sheets? I feel like you guys are going to slip right off your bed.
I put him down on a towel. It's not like I was dipping him in it. Like, it rubs in, Andrea.
All right. The surveillance footage of her showing up at CVS at 2:30 in the morning, she has no blood on her, and you would think somebody that's just decapitated someone would show some sort of messiness on them.
Unless she was getting something from the kitchen.
No, not the kitchen. The CVS surveillance video where when she left Yoko's house after he was killed.
She's still not bloody?
She's still not bloody.
Hmm.
So closing arguments invoke 12 angry men directly, admitting Devyn lies constantly, but insisting reasonable doubt demands an acquittal since no video shows her hands on the mutilation tools, and Devier fits the angry son losing everything profile way better.
I don't like the direction you're going with this.
I'm going to skip the court stuff because I think it's boring.
Mm-hmm.
But closing arguments complete. This case hits the jury. Closing arguments complete November 14th, 2025. The jury deliberates just under 2 hours.
Uh-oh.
The jury rejects Devyn's Devier theory outright, accepts the prosecution's narrative that Devyn exploited an opportunity, struck deliberately, mutilated post-mortem, concealed evidence frantically while lying repeatedly. The jury, they return with a unanimous guilty. First-degree murder with a deadly weapon enhancement. January 8th, 2026, Devyn, now 47, faces final judgment. The judge imposes a 240-month to life plus consecutive 96 to 240 months weapon enhancement, which, if you don't want to talk like you have a toddler and you're telling the age in months, it's a minimum of 28 years incarcerated before the possibility of parole. She'll reach her 70s before freedom possibilities emerge, if ever. Devyn addresses the court one final time, offering no confession, no mutilation explanation, no accomplices' names, no tools location revealed. Anything I say cannot deliver what the families want. No matter my word, they'll feel the same.
I don't even know how to address what you just did.
And the daughters, 9 days post-arrest, because I was curious what happened to the little girls, on August 16th, 2023, Clark County Family Services arrived at Devyn's home, immediately removing both girls, who were 7 and 9, to state protective custody.
Their half-brother doesn't want to help them?
They went to the state custody. A family service worker testified that Devyn's custody behavior was bizarre, and one of those family service workers recounted that Devyn saying, quote, she had to do it, which is chilling insight. But the two girls served the true life sentence. Their mother murdered their father, and now they're the system's collateral damage. I don't know what happened to them because they're minors. Yeah. I would hope that
I wouldn't want to get into it anyway, wherever they are.
Considering this case just closed a few months ago. That circles us back around this case's most genuinely haunting element, the literal piece still missing from justice itself. Where is Johnathan's head? It's never been found.
That's really weird.
The decapitation weapon vanished without a trace.
I wonder if, since they really weren't looking very hard, I wonder if she threw it in the septic.
Maybe. The trial concluded 28-year minimum served. The jury was unanimous. Yet the most crucial evidence remains physically absent. There's no murder weapon. The head's missing. I do kind of think the son could have done it because it doesn't make sense. I do question if he was involved.
Yeah, I do too, because he was really, I know that that relationship started at 19, but like kind of conditioned.
Yeah.
So And then threatened with his own paw taking his spot.
I just think it's absolutely crazy that she at one point was having sex with her husband, Johnathan's teenage son, and doing porn.
How wild would it be if Johnathan, or if he wasn't the dad, but his son was?
Uh, Dude, when I saw that their sexual relationship started within the months of her getting pregnant, I was like, how is it not questioned who the father was? And I get it, Johnathan died not knowing that his son and Devyn were ever sleeping together, so he wouldn't know to question that, but he knew she was married.
He knew she was a porn star.
That too. So it's just like I don't understand where paternity was never questioned.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head of he just was really excited to be a dad again. He failed with his boy, now he's got his little princesses.
Yeah. Yeah, but she definitely took MILF too far.
Sure did.
She's a myth.
What?
It's not a mom I like to fuck. It's just a mom. He is fucking.
All right.
She forgot the L.
This was Devyn's story of dysfunction exploding into decapitation, life sentences cascading outward. And really, the little girls are the ones that are going to be penalized. And I really hope that maybe Yoko has the girls. I think it'd be weird if their half brother / father figure person raised them.
Yeah.
But that's all I've got on Devyn Michaels and Robert Baker. Could you imagine if they stayed together? They're both willing to kill.
I could also have seen it as like a maybe even they weren't in on it kind of thing, and he wanted to see where they were going. It was like outside with his face pressed up against the glass kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she goes upstairs and then comes back down and he's dead. And she's more of a, what did you do?
Yeah. I think that's why the head was taken. I think whatever was used to kill him proves who the real killer is. And whether she did do the killing or it was somebody else, I think she was ultimately responsible for this disaster.
She was. There's no ultimately. She is 100% where she should be because of her choices.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not anyone else helped and should also be with her.
I agree. And I don't trust that Devier was not involved.
Yeah.
Because if they tore her house apart and couldn't find that evidence, I also think it's interesting that the cell phones were put together and traveled together. And I also question the grocery bags because let's just say the grocery bags upstairs, for example, that I keep. If someone were to kill someone and then use those bags, my DNA
is have your shit all over it.
Yeah.
Makes you think twice before donating them.
My mind is blown.
Mm-hmm.
But do you get what I mean? So, like,
I also think it's weird, like, where were the bloody clothes?
Right. So it just makes you sit back and go, is she innocent of the murder?
But then you know what? If you also think about how all, like, the cases we've read where evidence is found accidentally because they ditched it in some weird dumpster and somebody found it, there are plenty of times where people ditch it in some random dumpster and it's never found.
Yeah.
So it's 100% possible that's where his head is, too.
His head, the murder weapons.
Yeah, but they're long gone because they've been carted with any other garbage.
I didn't get into the details on it, but during the court stuff, I should have kept this in here. During the trial, the Clark County medical examiner receives Johnathan's headless torso on August 8th, and the chemical burns scarring the front, diamond shape, proves that he was never moved off the bed. There were multiple superficial practice cuts to his neck, to the main neck wound.
Ooh.
And then whoever sawed the neck obviously struggled before finally succeeding. The minimal blood vessels suggested decapitation happened post-mortem.
Yeah, he was already dead.
Right. But then the final ruling was that the homicidal violence was the cause of the homicide or the cause of his death.
I don't get the point of taking his head.
I think because it tied whatever evidence. They had another forensic anthropologist, the severed cervical vertebrae, confirming two distinct tools. What appeared to be a handheld knife creating initial cuts, plus a mechanical saw powered through the bone. It powered through the C2 and C3 vertebrae and showed classic perimortem sharp force trauma clustering around the death moment itself. And she stressed even as a petite individual, Devyn could have managed such dismemberment since a power tool does the heavy lifting. And it was obvious that it was like a sawzall.
Mm-hmm.
And then the defense countered, because they go back and forth, that, okay, hold on to your panties for this one, because this one made me go, what? Which is why I included all of this. The defense has a doctor that challenges the homicide certainty by claiming Johnathan's enlarged heart plus his fatty liver could have triggered a natural death.
What?
And his toxicology report showed it was heavy with THC and his
So he
stomach.
died naturally and she just panicked and chopped his head off?
I guess because she had clobbered him on the head. I don't know. But he also had an alcohol 30 times the blood level, indicating recent heavy drinking. So he's drunk as a skunk and high.
I would say even if it was an accident, she doesn't say where his head is and doesn't seem very sorry, so...
The defense argued that his cause of death should have been undetermined.
Right.
Not a definitive homicide. But they said it was a homicide because his head got taken.
All right. So it's less surprising that it's California.
Well, this was Nevada.
Andrea, shut up.
But the defense did agree with the prosecutor and said they did get one thing right. Somebody decapitated Johnathan post-mortem using specialized tools, dumped chemicals, and attempted to manipulate evidence.
I'm concerned that this is recent.
Right?
Sounds like hogwash to me.
It blew my mind that they were like, he probably died naturally, and then somebody panicked, is all. That's all I've got on Devyn Michaels and her very, very bad decisions.
All right. Thanks for that.
You're welcome. Oh my God.
Sorry.
Bless you.
That really stuck up on me.
I think your demon just escaped.
Woohoo! I'm healed.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. You ain't cured that fast.
Thank you for listening to Homicide Hobbies. I'm Claire.
I'm Andy.
Follow us each week to get your fix of the atrocities that occur in true crime. And don't forget to tell people about us and rate us if you like us. But don't rate us if you didn't. Just change the channel.